what's going on, guys? We're back for another one. So today's a fun day because, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff on this table. We're here in the hot rod shop. We got a lot of our builds going. We got 3 SEMA builds going for 2025 right now. And in order to do those builds, we need lots of tools to make it happen. So Clay from Vim Tools has brought us over a whole bunch of goodies. We went through the catalog, picked out some things we needed, and here they are. Well, man, tell me about some of the stuff you there, because there's a couple of things here that I've not seen before, and I'm like, I don't know what in the world we're going to do with that. And then there's a couple of things where I'm pretty excited about them. So, I guess tell me just a little bit about what you brought.
Sure. Obviously, you're a guy that knows tools, because if we had to make an all-star list, you pretty much picked all of them out of the catalog. You know, Vim has been around since 1931. A lot of people don't realize how old Vim is. You know, and we started here in America, out of California, and the company was actually purchased from a sailor's bonus from World War I.
Wow.
So it kind of roots are a little bit deep. You know, everybody thinks that we're kind of a new company, but we kind of flew under the radar for a long time because we're more known for our bit drivers and our like hex bits, torx bits. And we've developed the line over the years to have pretty much a full tool offering, which you see here today. And you're right, we do have some tools that are a lot different than anything else you've ever seen.
You definitely do, because one thing in particular I keep staring at is like it looks like little robot hands, and I'm just still I don't know what it is, but we're gonna figure out what it is soon. So when they started, do you know when they started back then in the 30s? I mean, to me it seems like that, you know, that's pretty early days to be like, we're going to start a company and we're going to start making tools. So do you know, like, what was the drive behind wanting to start a tool company back then?
Sure. So in our catalog, when you look in the front of our catalog, it's actually got a little bio.
Okay.
We've just added this, you know, recently. So it actually started with a carbon scraper, believe it or not. And we actually still sell that scraper today. So that's the humble beginnings of Vim Tools.
Started it all.
It's
wow.
part number C1.
Isn't that something?
It is a flexible carbon scraper. So technically, if you want to look at the overall aspect of the thing, Vim was one of the first tool trucks, because Mr. Durston, the original owner of Vim, actually sold those out of the back of his truck.
Really?
And then added to that scraper line from there.
So I have to ask then, did he have a payment plan like all
I don't know, but, you know, you got to help.
On this table, what stands out to you the most? Like, what is your go-to, I got to have this in my toolbox?
There's a lot of good choices here, but if I had to pick one, my favorite would be our DD SUJ M400 set. So it looks like your regular universal set, right? So it's a metric set that goes from an 8 to a 14. What's a little bit different about these, you can see they're spring loaded.
Nice.
So you don't have to worry about putting tape on it or O-rings around it and it getting floppy on you. But we kind of went a little bit further than just making it spring loaded. If you notice, the bottom of it looks like a nut, and that's where our dual drive technology comes in. You can use a 1/4 inch socket in here, or if you use the dual drive function, when you snap it into your 11 millimeter wrench, you can see how low profile it is.
Right.
Now, don't really look that low profile just because we're out here in the open. But when you compare it against the standard short socket, so I'm going to get a standard 14 millimeter socket. And now you can really see the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Big time.
So these are a really cool tool. And for you guys that's not familiar with Vim mag rails, it's a good way for you to kind of experience the strength of our socket rails, because we make the best socket rails on the planet.
Yep.
I know earlier you tried it yourself on the lift.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah.
The power of our magnets. So that would probably be like my pet pick of everything that's here. Yeah. But it's a real close second, because we've got our brand new Noras here. So we have 2 sets. This is the Nora 150 and the Nora 150 XL. Now, it looks a little strange because it looks like a flexible wrench head that has an offset.
Right.
So it's reversible, obviously. But instead of your normal wrench head, we put a 3/8 drive in it. So you can use any length extension if you want.
Gotcha.
So if you need a 2-inch wrench, you put a 1-inch extension in it, and now you have a super short wrench.
Right.
If you need a longer wrench, man, you can put a transmission extension on here and have a 36-inch wrench if that's what you need. So that's a really great set to just give you a lot of versatility in different angles and getting in those tight places.
Well, I notice with a lot of the stuff that we looked at, and I think what I like the most is just the multi-purpose of it all. It seems like almost everything you pick up can be used a couple of different ways,
Sure.
or with a couple of different extensions or ratchets or whatever it is. And I think that's pretty cool because you can take one tool and you don't have to run back and forth to the toolbox.
Sure.
I got to go get the ratchet now. I got to go get my ratcheting wrench. It's all in one unit with almost everything on the table. It
Sure.
feels like.
Well, like as you know here, right now you've got 3 or 4 different projects going at one time, and your toolbox is up here in the corner.
Right.
If you're working back here, you know, a prime example of that is right here where they're HBR 1046. So if you're working back here on this truck and you're using your regular 3/8 drive sockets on there, and you're like, man, I really need a 10 millimeter to get to this bolt. You can pop that insert out and you got a 10 millimeter ratcheting wrench right there, and you never have to leave where you're working. So
right.
it's convenience.
And how often are you working on something and you lose your 10 millimeter?
Well,
You're not going to lose that one.
That's right. And we actually make full different sets. So we have a 10 millimeter that is 10 pieces. We have 8 and a 13 as well. We have a little variety of different kind of 10 millimeters.
That's very cool.
So I know I mentioned about how we started with our bits. So what we have here are Impact 50 set.
Those look beefy.
They are. So they're all made of S2 steel. So if you'll notice on the side of it, you'll see the marking S2. And it's a super strong steel that's developed for use in tools. And this set is 3/8 drive. It comes with Torx, Torx Plus, triple square, metric hex, and standard hex all in one kit.
Wow.
So you can beat on these with an impact, and it's not going to hurt them because that's what they're designed to do.
Nice.
And what's cool about all of our products, not only does it have a lifetime warranty, if you ever break one or lose one and you call your tool guy, the first thing he's going to ask is, what's the part number?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I lost it, right? So each one of our boxes has a QR code. So when you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to a parts breakdown. It's going to give you that individual part. So if you have an issue with one of our tools and you break it, you simply go to our website. You can look on our website under individual parts under the tool set, or you can scan the QR code to get that individual part, fill out request a warranty, and we'll have you one in a couple of days.
That makes it a lot easier on the guy using the tool because you know how often it happens. You need to replace something and you go looking for it. That could be a nightmare.
Absolutely. And another thing that I think we do that nobody else is doing is our small bit sets. So as you see here, we have 2 different bit sets. This one's called the FRBS 89, and it's pretty much a comprehensive bit set that's going to cover anything you need for whatever job you're working on. So it's got even clutch bits, Robertson bits, triple squares, flats, Phillips, security Torch Plus. Like this.
Call that kit all you need.
And what's really cool about this kit is if you pull out the bit sets here, you'll see they're a full 1 inch. So in this set, this is our half cut set. It's called the VHC 77. If you'll notice, there's quite a bit of difference in length of those 2 bits. So those are 5/8 long and these are 1 inch long. That's what the half cut stands for. So while we've got this out, I'm going to run over this real quick. So if you notice, we have a pretty unique locking flex head reversible ratchet. So if you notice, it's got a white dot on the ratchet head. Also on the extension, you'll see it's got a serrated, sort of a dotted line. Right. When you line those up together, it makes a T-handle.
Nice.
Or you can not line it up and it'll make an extension.
Yeah.
So this end's magnetic. This end's magnetic. You can put them together and have a longer reach, or you can put the bits directly in the end. Right. But what's really cool about this kit is the sockets that we have. So this is a 10 millimeter socket. So once you put it in there, this is how low profile you can get with this set.
I love the low profile, and back to the multi-purpose again, because I mean, look how many things you can do with that one tool. But that low profile, especially these cars that we're building, and we're fabricating everything, so it's really not those open spaces in the engine compartment you're used to having. You engine panel, you're hiding wiring. When you've got very limited space to work, and you wouldn't think a lot about, that just little bit of difference makes a lot of difference in our world.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's the whole reason behind the half cut set that we have. If you'll notice with our bit driver that we have in here, so it's got a 1/4 inch bit driver on one end and a 5/16 bit driver on the other. So this half of the box is 5/16 drive bits. This half is 1/4 bits. So when you pull it out, we mentioned that they were 5/8 long.
Right.
So if the bits fit in whatever you're working on, you can use it with our bit ratchet and get it in there. Because once you put the bits inside our bit ratchet, notice it sets flush with the back, so it doesn't add any length or height to the tool.
Right.
So if the bit fits, you can at least get it on the fastener.
Wow. So then we've got a master set. So pretty standard stuff. We've got our sockets, short sockets. We've got deep sockets. But one thing that you were telling me was pretty cool about this is we can actually use these with an impact.
Sure. Obviously you've heard it and seen it before. Don't run an impact unless it's a black socket.
Yep.
So these are actually impact grade sockets, and we satin chrome finished them.
Nice.
So there's no smoke and mirrors. When I tell you it's safe to use them on an impact, it's not going to hurt to run it on an impact. The reason why we don't advertise them as impact sockets is because at the end of the day, it does have a thin layer of chrome on it, and it may crack the chrome, but it's not going to hurt you as blow up in your face like everybody thinks.
Well, I'll tell you one kind of rule we had when we were filming the TV shows, Truck Tech and Car Fix and all that, was if it was not a black socket, you were not allowed to put it on an impact. So I've kind of lived by that rule. But I'm about to change that now.
Run ours on an impact. We want to see what you think about it and see how much they can handle.
Now tell me again how many foot-pounds you said.
So if you go to our channel at vimtools.com, we have a segment called The Break Room, and we test our products to failure.
Right.
And, everybody wanted us to go against the major tool truck brands. Obviously, we're not going to go out and buy a couple $300, $400 ratchets just to break them, right? But Project Farm had done those tests before, so we used his data, and we put it on the screen, and we put our ratchet up against it. And let's just put it this way, it wasn't even a race. It was about 30% more torque.
Really?
The big boys that you buy on a tool truck.
Nice. Well, every tool here so far looks really beefy, so that's really cool. Well, we'll definitely, try that out. I don't think I've got enough strength to be able to break that.
Put a pipe on it. That's what I had to do to break it.
Well, then we've got more sockets. We've got some deep, these are spark plug sockets, right?
Yes.
So we've got magnets in here. We can do that. Also really deep. One thing I like about the deep ones, we've got another deep set here somewhere, right there. Mm-hmm. So one thing that's really cool about the deep ones, you ever ran into it where you've got a really long stud and you're trying to get onto a nut and your deepest socket obviously won't get to it. So then you're getting a wrench on there and you're having to back it off so far before you can get your socket on it. You know how bad that sucks. And with these, you don't have to do it anymore.
No. Yeah. So this set was developed, specifically for guys that work on turbos or charge air coolers or, anything that's got that long stud. Lift kits are a big thing, right? We're in Mississippi. We love to lift our trucks. You either lift them or you lower them.
Well, now they lift the front and lower the back, so we're not going to get into all that.
We're not going to do that. Don't use these for that. but these lifts are a thing, and those long U-bolts is something where most guys, like you said, you have to ratchet them off a good ways and then put your impact on it. So we built socket sets specifically designed to do those jobs to keep you from having to use those ratchet wrenches.
Well, one thing that I see on the table, I said a little bit earlier, is I didn't know what they were. I hadn't seen them before. So what are these? What we use them for?
Well, let me show you a quick demo. Let me open up our Impact 50 set and grab a hex bit. We'll go with a 19. That way it's easier for the camera to see. So we have 3 different sets here. The RFW 200, so it goes from a 22 to a 32.
Okay.
The RFW 150 that goes from a 15 to a 19. And the RFW 100 that goes from an 8 to a 14. So you may be going, what is that weird thing? Well, it's a ratcheting flare wrench. So we're going to use this, and we're going to pretend this is a brake line, transmission line, fuel line, whatever. But the purpose of this hex is going to turn it into the flare nut at that point. So it's self-closing. When you put it around your line, you notice that little indentation that was sticking out and closed it around it. You'll notice it's also overlapped. So the inside of this tool is actually touching the side of the flare nut in a sense, and this is overlapping around it.
Okay.
So when you ratchet it, before you start putting pressure on it, as soon as I start putting a little pressure on it, it overlaps. So it's not going to spread on you. It's spring loaded, but it don't have to have the spring to make it ratchet.
Right.
It actually force ratchets itself.
Yeah, no more line wrenches.
No more line wrenches.
Man, nice. So, okay, well, I'm glad you brought those now. At first, I didn't know what in the world we were going to do with those.
And for the sizes that correspond with each other, like this is a 19, we have SAE sizes on the back.
Oh, nice.
So one set will get you SAE and metric.
It's a great way to do it. So we've got a few other odd and ends, but I've got to talk about this thing now because, as you know, this really has excited me. So this is the paint rescue pin. You can see it looks just like a pin. Pop the top off. Got what looks like a little needle that's sticking out of the bottom of this thing. It's got little barbs coming off of it. You really got to get in there to see them, but if you run your fingers on it, you can feel them. So let me tell you what this does. Being a painter, this is one of the handiest little tools I think I've ever seen, especially if you're doing a paint job where maybe you're trying to get away with not cutting and buffing it or something like that. So if you get a piece of trash in your clear coat, in your paint, where it's dirt, it's fuzz, it's maybe there's a little bug flying around in there and you need to get it out. So say for instance, we've got trash right here and we've just laid it down and we're like, oh crap, what are we gonna do? We can stick the end of this little needle into that fuzz, dirt, bug, whatever it may be, give it a little twist. Those barbs are gonna pick that dirt up. We're going to pull it out and boom, just like that, we saved a paint job, potentially saved a ton of time on having to sand that and buff that out if you're trying to get away with that. So I think this is probably one of the handiest little tools I've ever seen. And I was joking earlier, I said this one little pin right here was the excuse to order every bit of this stuff because I got in the catalog, I was like, I got to have that thing. And then you were telling me about it and I was like, that really sounds cool. We're actually painting something right now, so we're about to put her to work.
And what's awesome is that's a stainless barb that's in there, so you can clean it when you're cleaning your paint kit. And if you forget, because, you know, sometimes it happens, right?
Right.
You forget to clean it. It comes with a full 10-pack of replacements, and we also sell those replacements as well.
Yeah. So, you know, this is going to get used a lot. If I can save myself a little bit of time in that paint, you already know, like the paint process, it's so time consuming. Especially, I was just telling you earlier, you get into the cut and buff stage and you go 600 grit, 1,000, 15, 2,000, 25, 3, 5, 8. Before you buff, it's like, you know, those little imperfections or those little pieces of trash, you can spend a lot more time really trying to perfect that. And if you can get that out in the beginning and kind of flatten that out, it's just saving a ton of time.
Absolutely.
So, what else we got? Anything else you want to talk about?
These are really cool. So, you know, pocket screwdrivers has been around for years.
Yep.
So we kind of wanted to, as you know, we like to do things a little bit different than everybody else. So we put a square shank in it and we put a bent tip on it. So this is actually a pocket pry bar. So the shank runs all the way to the tip and we put a recessed magnet in it. So if you drop your socket down in somewhere, you can simply pick it up,
I like
pull
that.
it back out, stick it back in your shirt pocket. Need to pry some clips loose.
Yeah.
No big deal. There you go.
So a few other things we got that are really neat. 3.5-inch ratchets. We got a 1/4 drive, 3/8 drive. These are handy because we were talking about those tight areas we're always trying to get into. And, you know, a lot of times you can't get a big ratchet in there. So those are really nice to get down tight. Another thing that's cool, these silicone trays, especially if you've got a tool cart you're rolling around, they stick down really tight. So throw your tools in there. They're not going to bounce around. You're not going to lose them. And then something else I think is cool, badge removal tool or a wheel weight tool. You get this in there, kind of go behind that badge and get them off. You're debadging, you know, trying to make your car look better. Then we've got the mag rag, which is pretty cool because if you've got tools, you've got nice tools like this, you want to keep them clean. So if you get that wrench dirty, obviously you're going to be able to clean that with your microfiber. You got a magnet in here, you can keep it stuck to your box. But you also have a spot where you can pull that magnet out where you can go wash that thing and keep it nice and clean on your box. So I think we about covered everything, didn't we?
Yeah, you picked a lot of great tools.
Well, yeah, we picked a lot of tools. Man, well, we got a lot of cars to build, so we need a lot of tools, so it makes sense. But anyway, man, I really appreciate you bringing all this stuff by, and tell everybody your social media stuff where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can check us out on Instagram. We do a lot of reels. That's kind of one thing. We try to make it a little fun, you know, showing off some of our tools. So you can check that out at Vim Tools. And then our YouTube is Vim Tools. So if you're looking into any of these tools, we have them on our website, www.vimtools.com.
Cool. Well, we're definitely going to keep showing you guys these tools as we're building these cars. But as always, appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe. Hey, go get a t-shirt. We got t-shirts. I can't wear all those shirts. Go get a shirt. I give you a shirt.
Yeah.
Go get a shirt.
Shirt.